Back again for another episode of Pub Politics. Ric Garni here along with Wes and Phil, and we are dressed seriously because, the Senate's back in session.
The Senate is back today.
So you guys look the part. Wednesday, of course, the Senate taking up Governor Haley's budget vetoes. The House did so on Tuesday. Just a quick takeaway from each of you guys as far as the governor's vetoes versus how they ended up in the House and the Senate. Quick takeaway, Phil, I'll start with you.
Well, we're still waiting and seeing. I think it's going to be see what the final results are. I mean, the House sent the Senate over 51 vetoes. Some are getting sustained today. Some are getting overridden by large margins. The Arts Commission, for example, I think just about 2 senators voted to sustain the veto. The rest overrode it. So the Arts Commission is back up and running, and that's something to be proud of.
There were a couple you mentioned she had 81 vetoes. I think the House sustained 30 of them, so there were 50 for the Senate to take. But there were a couple that a lot of people, I think, concentrated more on than in other vetoes. The Arts Commission was 1, yep. Teacher salaries was 2, and I think the domestic violence was 3. It looks like she vetoed funding for those things. It looks like the House and Senate will overturn all of those.
Yeah, there's no big surprises. Everybody kind of...
we talked about it last week.
You know, we argued back and forth on the philosophical issues on these, but there was really no doubt that those 3 were ever going to get overridden. I mean, it was a blowout in the House. In the Senate, it was a little closer, but still a blowout.
Well, let me ask you this then. So when she vetoes things like that, maybe does she realize that it's probably going to be overridden, but she wants to make a statement because she knows that it's probably not going to be overridden?
Yeah, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, I don't even know if they care, all right? This is just her... a lot of it's public opinion. It's a lot of it's media just saying, "Hey, I'm the fiscal conservative." I mean, she wants to have that label. We talked about that on this show before. She wants to have that label nationally as one of or the most fiscally conservative governor in the state of South Carolina. So I mean, you know, and you look behind the scenes, there's not a whole lot of communication on trying to get these things sustained. So it's a media ploy.
You know, watching as the House and the Senate discuss these things, Governor Haley, at least whoever writes on the Twitter account and Facebook page that is Governor Haley's page, I don't know if it's always her. I always wonder when you have these politicians if it's really them, but it could be her. But she was responding to each and every one of the vetoes, whether it was overridden or sustained, especially on Facebook. And Phil, she got into a little bit of trouble on Facebook for the post about the rape crisis centers. There was a reference to special interests taking over the State House when referring to that veto. But a couple of the Democratic lawmakers
and some Republicans
tied that to saying she was referring to rape victims as special interest. And so this whole firestorm started. She said that's not what they said. So we had something that kind of came out of this veto fight that turned a little controversial late Tuesday night.
Absolutely. I mean, you saw the Democrats and some Republicans, Representative Joan Brady from here in Columbia, jump on Governor Haley for what they viewed as really insensitive. I mean, this is coming after the week where she, in her veto message, she referred to the Rape Crisis Network, the centers, as a distraction. That's totally inappropriate. You saw the people's frustration yesterday come out.
I'll bite my tongue on Joan Brady so she doesn't demand that I be fired again for my comments here on Watch Fox. But I will say this. 2 things here. One is the Democrats, this is way overblown. I mean, she wasn't referring to rape victim as special interest. I think that was typed out wrong. You had to kind of really stretch that out there to say that's what she was saying. It was obvious she wasn't calling them. With that said, let me say this. She demanded Phil be fired for something he tweeted. Her husband also put some bad things on Facebook. People can misconstrue what you say on social media, and she needs to learn her lesson. And 1, be more careful, and 2, when other people do that, you know, not be demanding that they be fired. With that said, the Democrats should have saw what happened with Phil and some other instances and realized that she screwed up on that Facebook message, and that's not what they meant. This whole going back and forth, we need a little bit more understanding when it comes to social media because the way people are responding so fast. But it was kind of BS for the Democrats to say that she was calling a rape victim special interest. Let's be real.
I think right now, what passes for leadership in the governor's office is her ranting on Facebook. You look back in the history of South Carolina, Governors Carroll Campbell and Dick Riley every veto they had on the state budget was sustained. They never lost a fight on that. Now with Mark Sanford and Governor Haley, they are just losing these things left and right, and really the only thing she has is to go sit behind a keyboard and make statements like that.
I will just say this in close. I don't disagree with that. There is a massive communications gap in South Carolina state government. Republicans don't talk to Democrats. Democrats don't talk to Republicans. Half the Republicans don't talk to half the Republicans. And then you don't have the governor talking to the legislature. It's a big mess, and it's a bipartisan mess on both sides. And there just needs to be some more talking back and forth like real people do.
Well, why has it happened? What is the origin of that?
Politics in America has just gotten too hot and too partisan. I mean, when you see stupid stuff like Rush Limbaugh, saying that the Democrats purposely called Bane in the new Batman series, right? Bane after Bane Capital.
Right.
When you see stupid things like that being said, even though Bane from Batman's been around for about
years.
15 years, there's just this level of stupidity and just heated rhetoric out there. People just don't talk to each other like they need to talk to each other to get crap done.
Could you guys volunteer as facilitators to make it a kinder, gentler state house, perhaps?
Phil and I have learned that you can communicate over beer, and that's why we have politics at the bar.
And we still have a good time up at the State House. And I mean, the Senate is still a cordial place for the most part. But this is just it's institutions: Senate versus House, Senate and House versus Governor's office, and it's
silly.
If Governor Haley would actually go along and actually show some leadership, she could probably get some things done. Now she's just relegated to sitting at her keyboard today, typing out nasty messages to just these 800 faithful that follow her on Facebook.
Lastly, he's partly right, but it's not just Governor Haley's fault. It's everybody's fault. Nobody's talking to each other, and Vincent Shaheen and your guys too would rather talk to the governor through press conferences than in meetings. It's the same. Both parties are having this problem.
Well, maybe we can bring the Fellowship of Pub Politics to the State House one day, and it may be asking too much, but we'll certainly give it our best effort. PubPoliticsLive.com is the website to catch these guys in action each and every week. Of course, they're also on Watch Fox News at 10, usually Tuesday nights, but when it's a big story like the vetoes, we'll push it back a night to Wednesday. Phil on the Democratic side, Wes on the Republican side, but we're all friends at the end of the day. Guys, thanks. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, back to you.